What we're doing, Keith?
Yeah.
Do a roll call. Oh, let's call the meeting to order.
Well, John's here. I don't know how you want to do it.
Let's just go down the line.
John's here.
Keith Goodspeed's here.
Then Snow's here.
Dale Tribe's here. Minutes from last week. Yeah, I gotta look over them again. Does anybody have any concerns on the minutes? I think it was just you and I that was here last time, wasn't it? John wasn't here and Keith wasn't here.
Kyle was here and
Kyle
Brett
was
was
here.
here. I don't have any questions on trying to pull up this on my iPad, but I'm in trouble.
Through and didn't see anything that.
I move approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I moved. And John seconded, I think.
no, you're good. Southtown subdivision.
So is this the one just?
So it's the one that we approved last time, right? They just did some amendments to it,
So,
to the road.
Okay, so Frank is here with CRS. He is representing Rob McNeil, the developer for Southtown subdivision. So this has been through the preliminary process. We've reached the final with some amendments to the engineer drawings here that we've come up with. So the intersection that you see on 50th South, I believe, 50th East. So this intersection right here was one item that we were concerned about aligning, and Jeff is actually here as well. He did our review for Roosevelt City. So it didn't fall in compliance with our city specs for the intersection. There was a couple of ADA ramps as well for pedestrian ramps on various sidewalks that we have a red line version. They have not updated that as far as on their end on the final. What else did we have? Yeah, sidewalk on State Street was another item that we had addressed. We're going to have them add. It was not in the preliminary, so there will be a sidewalk along State Street and the east side of State Street that adjoins this intersection or this development. One item of concern that has been brought up is the sewer lagoons that was present in this area. We have a map. Let me pull that up.
Can you overlay it or underlay it with this?
Yeah, so you kind of get an idea here. So this area here was the first lagoon that came into, and then it separated into these lagoons. The parcel of property we're talking about is here.
Doesn't go over those at all?
No, not at all. And the ones that are existing, 3/4 of it is already built on. Back in the 90s, Bob West was the developer. He did have restrictions on whether he could build, was due to the soil analysis and approval from Tri-County Health Department and the state of Utah to be able to build on that location, which they did pass and approve. Did pass the soil tests.
Now, where was the dump?
So the whole gulch area on both sides of State Street was utilized as kind of dumping grounds for a little bit of everything.
It wouldn't have been an illegal dump then, it would have been,
Right.
it was all on.
Most of the east side.
Yeah.
That's where,
So a lot of garbage was on the west side.
on the west, really. Shish.
I grew up there, so.
Okay, I just should know that.
So a lot of that gulch area, Roosevelt City does own the lot right here, this corner area. It is Roosevelt City. And this area is one that we are looking at expanding our nature trail and potential. The developer is willing to give Roosevelt City an easement through that area. So if we pull back to the lots here. Let's see, it doesn't show the gulch in. So Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, we did have a void area that we did have extend those lots down to.
Yeah, I don't know that you're showing the most recent thing I submitted to you.
Yeah, this must not be. Sunshine's out of town tonight as well, so we're kind of pinch hitting here. But we
The
did,
lots extend all the way south to the property line, on the most recent plat, and we also show an easement going through there for the nature trail.
yes, so as far as the area by the gulch, Roosevelt does own that section on the corner. And then the trail system's the easement will be granted to the city through that area as well, through that gulch. So. So any questions?
The engineers aren't concerned about any of it.
There are just some comments that I gave back to Drew on, like I said, the intersection. We are waiting to see the, geotechnical report to just check that there, check the pavement design. Other than that, in general, it meets the standards. And the only thing, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, like there are things that will need to be revised on before.
Yes. And that is one stipulation in approving this is based upon the red line of our engineers and staff that we've identified. They will need to be addressed before the final plat will be signed, obviously. But we're looking for approval to move forward with the red lines being addressed, adding the items that our engineer and staff has identified.
I move that we approve the plan as it currently is with that.
I second that.
John?
All in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
I heard all ayes.
Okay.
I was watching too, I was like reading lips.
Okay,
Ken Cole.
all right. Hillcrest subdivision. I'm just gonna sit down here if that's okay, so I can scroll through this. Let's see, Jason. Jason's here to represent Hillcrest subdivision. This would be for the final approval. During our review process, the only thing that we did identify and we're still working through is the storm drain. We're in some negotiations with the adjacent property owner for a potential trailhead for our nature park trail, which the storm drain could potentially drain that surface area as well as this subdivision and then run to the gulch. So that design may,
Who's installing
the contractor that
that,
they,
paying for it?
yeah. Yeah, as far as through there, now the city side, the city will have to participate on that if we come to an agreement and purchase the property. So that would be the only change?
You don't have the most recent version of mine either.
Probably not.
We have that storm drain shown.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this one doesn't quite have that, but Jason is their engineer, Sunrise Engineering. We have had Jeff Baker with our engineer firm, Jones of the Mill Review. And I guess any comments from you, Jeff?
Yeah, so Drew's got the red lines from me too. The only thing I saw is you have some details that don't match Roosevelt standards. So, I mean, my recommendation probably just throw Roosevelt's in for like the road service and that kind of stuff. So, but Drew's got red lines he can send you. That was I think that, and then, the only other thought, like if this subdivision is going to continue, do you wanna go ahead and put another invert in that last manhole with just a piece of pipe? So they don't have to core it later, so that drops in there. Just a thought there, I mean, it's probably gonna continue,
You're
so
talking to the west.
to the west,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
so.
What about that corner? Does that corner all belong to this property where the house is gonna be?
This corner here?
It does
Yes.
not.
No.
So that's a separate property owner, and that's part of the issue we came up with at the start, is that that entire subdivision, if you look at it, there's like 15 different homeowners essentially for that whole essentially.
So
just-
that lot isn't platted?
It is platted, yes. This subdivision has been platted for quite some time.
So that corner lot is platted with the prior subdivision?
Yes. All that we're bringing back is the construction over diagram basically, and Kyle.
That's all. So we'll have all the utilities are gonna be under the road stubbed out there.
Correct.
Okay.
Up to the house.
Well, the one to the right of the house there.
This one here.
East of.
Yeah, we do have a 5-year moratorium on any new construction roadways, so they would, I believe Cole Christensen owns that.
He did agree to participate in bringing this up on his property if, if it were to go through.
Is he gonna participate in the road construction too?
I don't think he wants to build a house there, so it sounds like no.
Just the stubs?
Yeah, just the steps.
Will it be a paved road?
Yes,
Well, yeah.
to city specs.
Yeah. Is it 3 lots or,
That the road would encompass.
well,
So
no, that is being,
One.
it's just one big lot.
you're the second lot in, Kyle, I
Yeah,
believe.
he's the second.
So we've got one lot here, John, and then
Oh,
the
okay.
lot that they're proposing to build the house on.
Okay, I see.
Oh,
It's about 300 linear feet of road.
And then the two parcels Roosevelt would be potentially looking at would be just to the north, here and here.
You mean
so there's another lot that isn't shown there on that one?
At the top?
Yeah, it's on the north side of the road here. You can see the,
Well, no, but I mean, this subdivision, is it 2 lots in this plat?
no, the subdivision consists of, there's probably 11, I believe.
So is this an amendment to
No, this is just the construction drawings for the road to get to the second lot. The subdivision has been approved, so
so it's,
long before I got here, 16 years.
Okay, so that,
This was way done, and they didn't require construction at that time. Why this happened, who knows? It's probably been around for over 20 years.
Yeah.
okay,
So we're just, basically, we're just giving you a visual of what's taking place with the construction.
okay, all right.
Who owns the triangle there on the right side of the turn?
This one? On
Yeah, straight up from there.
It's
John.
Troy McCoy.
the, oh yeah, Troy owns it.
Troy owns part of it, the other is Rocky Wills.
So Rocky owns, what is that, 18 feet, 20 feet? Right there, next to that lot on the corner.
So
It's
to the,
access point.
so the east and north of that road is not platted.
No, just this plat basically,
So there won't be any stub outs on that side?
not until we get to these two lots that we're talking about up here. Yeah, everything here is gulch. It drops off pretty steep and nothing is platted right from here to here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're just looking for approval of the,
Red line stuff.
yeah, well, let's call this, remind me the name, Hillcrest subdivision for the final plat with the red line, addressed, red line items addressed that's been identified from staff and engineers.
I'd move approval with the red line considerations.
I'll second
All in favor?
Okay. Okay, this one, want to move on to the next one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let's go to the next one.
We didn't get this one in the email packet, so I'm just gonna hand out some paper copies for you to look at. Okay, this will be Northeastern Counseling Center and Morton Snow storm drain improvement. Who do we got on this one? Jeff? Did you guys wanna?
We can if you want us to. You can,
What we've got here is Northeastern Counseling Center came in, it's been 6 months, probably, 4 or 5 months ago, for a lot line adjustment, lot line, actually, made 2 parcels out of the one. Few of you members weren't here.
They're up in the green.
Yes, up in the top of the map here. We approved,
2.1 acres up on the top, 2 developed buildings.
yes.
Do you have interest in this?
No.
I have no financial interest in this.
Okay.
So
I know the people who do,
It would play the people.
So we approved this with retention ponds for the construction of the road. We have not approved the site plan for the building, and it is coming, it sounds like next month, probably.
I think they might have even delivered the
Plans are here.
plans, yeah.
So we'll get that on next month for the site plan, for the Northeastern Counseling Center development there. So with this, there's been a proposal to upgrade to a storm drain to the gulch, as that map indicates. And, so this would be an upgrade, basically, of what we had prior to with the retention ponds. We do require a minimum of 18-inch on the pipe diameter. Jones and Mill has ran some calculations of what the 18-inch can handle. And in that handout on the second page, it goes over the CFS and the drainage. They are wanting to also pick up the north side of 8 South of their facility there. They do have drainage problems and have some pits basically they're pumping out to the road there to drain. So their anticipation is to pipe under 8 South to this system to drain to the
Northeastern.
Yeah.
This would also pick up 10.5 acres of future development south of this development here of Northeastern Counseling Center.
Yeah, could.
Okay, could potentially.
What's the purple line on 8?
The what?
The purple line up at the top, what does that represent?
Was that from the city's GIS?
Yeah, we're not, it's not relevant to this, I don't think. It potentially could be something there.
Probably secondary water.
So then, going from there to the corner on State Street, isn't there drainage down State Street?
There's,
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be closer to run it there?
And there's a, well, no, it would be, yes, because there's a drain right in front of us, but it's too high. It's just like the cemetery is gonna have to figure out a way to drain their property at some point too, because that's too low to be able to.
There's 10 acres, there's 10 acres in the upper left-hand corner. I don't know whether we're considering about draining that, but that, I mean, if this is gonna drain that, that belongs to the city, so the city would be participating in this drainage.
Right, so this drainage, the 18-inch proposal is not to drain the whole parcel, it's just to drain northeastern Council Center and 10 acres, unless we upsize that to a 36-inch.
Are we specifying what, 10 acres?
Not in the proposal, no.
So I mean, I'm just looking, this says 21.5 acres and 22.2 acres, right? So there's potentially 40, 43, 44 acres of development there in the future, obviously not right now, but.
But not, I mean, how it's drained, we didn't submit this.
Okay.
So to answer, hopefully your question, Kyle, this would be initially just to drain northeastern Council Center, plus it could potentially drain an additional 10.5 acres. The rest of this development would have to come in at a later date for a design and drainage. It would not, this line would not take all of this in.
Seems like a big pipe for 10 acres.
I can, the city standards require us to analyze a 50 and 100-year storm event. And that's what it's sized off of, so that's obviously a lot of water when that hits.
I think you should mention that in the primary design, the city was designed for 36 for this area. This was analyzed by Jones and DeVille to downsize, and that's why you have the 10 acre involved in this, because originally, the original design was for 36. And so this is a downsize
Well,
of what?
In the original design, to be fair, if you really fair with it, in the original design, they picked up all of the off of Loreal Drive and connected to the existing system of Roosevelt City, right?
It was also designed for 40 acres too.
So,
So, but it's designed to handle what you need and 10 acres additionally.
is that gonna be whose easement is that gonna be? Who's gonna own that drainage?
So
I think eventually, I mean, it should be a city road eventually. But
Is that along the property line?
we would
Or
probably would have been the proposed road.
Going on east of that to that roadway?
I think what Deb's asking is who has the easement through their property that this is going to travel.
Yeah, so who's gonna maintain that drainage?
Well, he owns the property that's behind it, yeah.
is that easement, I think what Dale's asking, is that easement gonna be granted to northeastern Council Center, to that pipe?
You're asking me, I think the easement ought to belong ultimately to Roosevelt City. There needs to be a road there. And that, whatever's in it needs to be in the roadway. And the easement ought to be done right the first time.
So with that, we would need a easement prepared for Roosevelt City for the pipe if you want. So typically 2 years after construction, Roosevelt City would take responsibility for infrastructure.
We're happy to take responsibility. I think the property owner would be of Roosevelt City, I mean, but, because it doesn't really make sense that Northeastern owns the right of way through there.
So, I guess with that, how do we know that there's even gonna be a road there? I mean, it's this,
Well, because Gordon's gonna give a right of way. The city's gonna have it for this pipeline.
so you're saying that the city is definitely gonna have a roadway there at some point?
Well, they're not gonna own it, but Gordon's gonna give a
I
right
don't
of
think there's any.
So the city, when it's ultimately platted, is gonna say, fine, you can plat this, but this is where the road is gonna go.
I guess my concern is we're granted an easement to put this drainage in. And then later on in 5, 10, 15 years, they come in and develop this and the road's off by 20 feet, then we've got to redo that whole drainage again.
Especially since we haven't engineered drawings for the whole subdivision, right? So we don't actually know.
So either the subdivision, I guess in my perspective, the subdivision needs to be drawn up, plotted, like ready to go.
Well, I think if they can tell them where this road is gonna go and the engineers mark it, then when they plat it, they're gonna have to plat it that way, so the road is right where they defined it with that easement.
Can I address some of that?
Sure.
You know, down in Meadowbrook subdivision, the only access in and out of Meadowbrook is on on State Street.
Right.
And it's been a commitment all along that there's another access out of Meadowbrook subdivision from 12th up to 8 South. And that access can't occur until we get past Gales Acres and some of that. And so once we get into our property, all we've done is left one row of lots so that the roadway wasn't on the boundary line and everybody having to improve. So we moved over one row of lots, and there is 2 streets heading in to it now. The road has to go, and the right of way assures that the road, whenever that future plan is, that will be a road because the right of way is already there.
We already have to put in that road, that small road, red and green.
And
We have to put that in anyway.
and that road lines up with the city's only road, which is Rodeo Drive.
No, the rest of it wouldn't be in.
And we could probably mitigate this with, hey, Gordon, you can speak to this. Somebody's gonna have to have the easement. Right?
Yeah.
And if Roosevelt City is to be that recipient of the easement, we're gonna take this over if Northeastern Counseling Center wants to retain it. That's the question, I guess, is who is the easement gonna go to? Who do we want to have
No, I don't-
responsible for this?
I can grant the easement to Northeastern Counseling, but ultimately, if anybody's looking down the roadways, we don't need it in Northeastern Counseling, we need it in Roosevelt City's name. It'd be easier for me to do that, but the best planning thing for this city is to own that easement.
And I agree with that.
And they assure that that's where the road's gonna go.
There's one other thing, that drainage coming down there, and then take a 90-degree turn down there.
So we're not taking a 90-degree turn.
Yeah, if you're gonna take it and take it at an angle across there, that's gonna help.
We've got,
The pipeline size.
we've already got permission to make it flow to go through that.
Okay.
So we'll be
That-
necessary.
It's gonna be a switch.
And one thing that we will need with this,
Little angle.
Little,
right,
make
slide
sure it doesn't go under.
So he knows there'll be an easement through his property.
he's agreed to that. So that would enter the city as well, so he's aware of that.
Yes,
Okay, he's okay with that. Okay. So are we talking easement just for pipe, or are we talking about the whole road easement?
we would grant the roadway easement, just as well do it. I'm one who says, we just will do it right the first time. In 15 years, we know it has
As long
to
as
be
you've got it engineered, so you know where it is.
With- the standard width of the
I think
road.
that'd be my suggestion is include an easement for the road, you know, the drainage obviously and all the infrastructure. Right, cause anything that needs to go on that road is gonna have to be done.
Right.
Which means you probably need to have some sort of drawing with the road plans to show, you know, curb, gutter, sidewalk, whatever. So we know what that easement, you know, entails.
And we do have specs as far as that goes, so that'll be pretty easy to do. We will have to get some grades shot, of course, there'll have to be some engineering. Obviously, for your drain, there'll have to be some elevation shot for the design.
Yeah, for me, I just, we're trying to get started. This is just one of those projects, if you've ever been by our current building, we have 4 songs. We've talked about these ponds, but they're like 10 feet deep, full of cobble rock, and it just doesn't drain there. And I can't, it ruins our parking lots and all that kind of stuff, and I just need, all I need to do is a 4-inch line into the road to drain into this. And I don't want to have the same problem with my next building.
Well, I just say that the size of the line should be something that Northeastern utilities can work together and get it all lined out. They're doing. See where it's going to drain.
So if you stuck with the original plan and put in the drainage ponds on that side, could you just, is it low enough on that side that you could just stick a pipe under the road and drain it into those ponds anyway? From the north side?
I don't think that solves, I mean, we could, I don't think it solves anything.
They're spending a lot of money to do this right.
Yeah, you get a trash pump out. I mean, it's just ridiculous, but you get a trash pump out.
Any other questions?
Because we would pay for the line. I mean, it's worth it to us to make sure that this drains right, so we have it.
A pond, they've had ponds and that doesn't really do it long term. This is the long term solution.
So, I mean, since we're talking long term, when is this 40 acres gonna be developed?
No idea.
I can address that. My hair is turning gray and I probably am not gonna do it. Probably develop more land in this town than anybody else. But I'm done. This 40 acres will sit till the demand is there and somebody comes and purchases it. That's why I'd like to put that roadway where it really belongs and where it will tie into Meadowbrook. And you don't have a master plan in front of you, but it exists. We're happy to supply it. And someone else will be doing that. But we're making sure the roadway that's gonna go down through there lines up with Rodeo Drive. Because it was off and it would be easier for us to be off. But so this roadway takes a little turn so that we can line up with Rodeo Drive. And we have spent a lot of time over many years making sure that the entire piece of property fits. Now, I can't guarantee you that they will come in with 30-acre lots. Somebody might come in and say, I want to develop this into ranchettes or acre lots or something else. And perhaps won't have curb and gutter at all.
This little piece down here on the right side, when you go up just a little bit from that cul-de-sac, and then there's some lots there. That little piece was just bought by Dr. John Wells. And he owns that little piece, and so this piece right here.
To the side of the road?
Yeah, from here, the blue line here, along there, that's undeveloped. That belongs to Dr. John Wells. He lives
Right there.
He lives right there, and he bought it.
So can he block that road up?
No. Well, I mean, he could keep from developing that, because that road isn't in right now. No, but there's a road right below that that's gonna be tied in,
Oh, the one on the end.
one on the end.
This piece here.
But there's no, I mean, Dr. Wells hasn't, I mean, I think eventually he'll decide that's what he needs to do with it. He owns it, because he lives it.
But this other one's the main road in and out.
Right, the other one is road in, that's gonna tie into this road down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So, you say this road here at the bottom where Dr. Wells lot, is that hooked to the 4 lots that you own over there in the meadows?
I don't own any.
you got 4 of them. Or you might have sold them at one time, but I remember you and Gordon split properties. And you ended up with the 4 lots down at the bottom if we go to
Well,
Meadowbrook.
Uh,
I'm just wondering if that road there continues from there, because I don't understand.
this road stubs in here and ends, and so there's just this little piece, but down below the lots, in anything I had there and was, so.
You probably gave them, but you and Gordon split.
Yeah, we're kind of in the weeds. I know you don't have a master plan of it, but from my perspective, I guess, I'm saying how they drain the rest of it, I don't know. I mean, they could have another, the city might have to have a drain line that comes down anyway, because they're gonna have somebody to deal with their 10 acres. I don't know, but that's not for today's discussion in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, too. We make that cemetery agree. But for tonight, I think what we're looking for is the direction, upgrading to the 18-inch. And I guess it does need to be noted as well, Jeff, on the end of this thing, we're gonna have to have a little bit of how we're gonna help this. The village.
Maybe I'm asking this right. I think what you're talking tonight is if Northeastern Counseling really wanted to keep the pipe, they wouldn't need to do an 18-inch line. What the proposal is, they're proposing to give that to Roosevelt as a storm drain, upsize it to 18. Roosevelt takes over the maintenance after the time period. And the information that we've provided is, since this is going to be a city storm drain, we just want everybody to know this is the approximate acreage that it could take into in a future development. So I think that's what's coming tonight is if Northeastern Council really wanted to keep it, they could get away with a smaller drain line just to drain there to the existing building and grounds and the new development. But they're asking this, if the city would be okay taking that storm drain on if they would upsize it to city standards. Is that right?
To the middle.
Yep.
And
He just said it better.
with the easement discussion, we will have to take this back to the city council to accept that easement. So it'll have to go back to them after you guys approve it, just the due process. So I don't see any problem with this. My recommendation would be to move forward, knowing that won't drain the whole area, but it will drain.
Well, it depends, again, on what's put there. The acre lots and turbines, apparently, it doesn't have to be drained,
Well,
so.
that depends on our curb gutter sidewalk. Because right now we do have a curb gutter sidewalk.
Right, it's still there.
He mentioned the cemetery needs drained, is there any chance, we need to figure out a way to connect this to that,
So cemetery,
or that to this, I should say.
it's up in the air as far as where that's gonna be and where it's not gonna be. And what's gonna actually happen with the property. If it does go into cemetery, we don't do curb gutter sidewalk on our roads in the cemetery, it does reach into the grass. We do have a drainage issue on our east side of the existing cemetery where that used to be a swamp, if you guys recall, which the cattails. We did install a drain on the east section, but 10 acres out of the 12 do not have a drain at all. It just drains into this curve. But not knowing exactly what that future is gonna entail.
You mean for this 10?
We're in discussions right now with the cemetery expansion committee. So we're welcoming input on that.
I'm only gonna give you mine. Years ago, the city said we need to expand the cemetery, so we traded them that property at a reasonable price, and now they're thinking, and we developed those 2 lots next to it, for a lot more money. So now the city's thinking they can sell this and get more commercial ground and then build a cemetery somewhere else. And, as the ones who traded that, I really am against that idea.
And I do appreciate that. And in fact, we may ask you guys to come in and share that as well when we get discussing this further. And I did share that in our meeting 2 weeks ago with some council members as well, and they appreciated. I'm an advocate with you.
That was we saw that the city needed it and years ago, and they said they needed it. I mean, that's commercial property, and we sold the other for buildings for, you know, a good sum, and we said, you know, if the city needs it, that's a priority, and so now to have to turn it into, say,
Can I just,
turn it commercial, that bothers me a little bit.
can I just clarify something? I think when we met, you mentioned that this should we just have to come to the planning zone. And that this wouldn't have to go to city council so that we could get started on this project.
You're
Trying to go out to bid, and this was 3 weeks ago.
Now we're
And now
talking
we're
about
changing
an easement though, so if we are going to obtain an easement, that changes everything.
Drew,
So before we were talking
Can I-
about you guys just,
So if they put the pipe in and then give you the easement later,
we'll still have to take the council when we do that.
Yeah.
Might as well do it now.
but then they could start.
Yeah, we gotta get started.
why don't I grant the easement to Northeastern and they'll grant it to you? You'll still have to
We're
approve
going
it.
to take,
It's
we're
up
going
to you.
we're gonna take this. To be fair though, we received this concept 3 weeks ago. So we're trying to do our due diligence. We have checks and balances we have to operate under as Roosevelt City as well. We have a governing body of planning zoning as well as city council. So
So this is just, I mean, the
When's the city council meeting?
it'll be the first week of October.
Till then.
The thing is that the thing is, I know, but the alternative is basically just these ponds, you know, out there that, you know, can fill or not fill or whatever, and this obviously is far superior to that.
It is, but we have to go through the approval process. So I don't make those rules, city planning and zoning don't make those rules, city council does. So we're going to accept the easement, which I think is the proper way to do this.
Okay.
We have to take it to one more.
That city council will be before your next planning and zoning though, right?
Yes. Tuesday, the night before.
Cause they'll have to go for final approval to next planning and zoning for the building.
Right.
Is that correct?
Exactly. So your building is gonna be the first week of October as well, so it's really not putting this project on.
So
Your
really,
building still has to come.
if we could have
Well, not
for
necessarily.
the easement at next meeting, we would be fine, right? And really wouldn't push anything behind.
Exactly, because we still have to approve the building site plan.
If we can start the drain as soon as the alfalfa is gone and the water's gone, we'd really like to get that in.
Which will be the second week of October, is when water goes out.
The what?
We're talking the first week of October for these meetings. So water will still be going on the field.
So
Yeah, but
It might not be in
we
our
have to
ditch.
arrange a contractor and.
you don't have a contractor.
We might be not using it, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Either way, we still gotta take
You're not
it.
gonna start in October.
To put in the line,
Yeah.
I think we can.
So lot 4, if you're not putting drainage ponds there, that's still Northeastern, that's still your property? Or whose property is that?
No, it's the property is,
So all the property is still Snow's?
no.
You're talking
Just
just
lot
lot
four.
on the east side.
Yeah,
That's Northeastern Kansas, right? You bought two.
They bought both.
it's about 3 and 4.
Yes,
Just-
yes.
So is lot 4 big enough to put anything on?
Yes, probably, we'll probably shift. We're not building on the current.
I think in the original plan, in the original concept that was done quite a while ago too, those ponds were actually south of the property that
Yeah.
Northeastern was buying.
Okay,
They weren't gonna go on that other parcel.
they weren't gonna go on lot 4.
No,
Okay,
yes,
I thought they were on lot 4. That makes sense. Okay. I don't see any issues.
Guess the issue is timing, but
So what size was the line originally?
what line?
Well, you keep saying you upgraded it to 18-inch. What size was it?
Well, I think we could have got away with 10 inch.
Northeastern Council could get away with something smaller to just take care of their property, but then they're responsible for maintaining that for
Yeah.
ever. And I think the interest for Northeastern Counseling is if they're willing to upsize it to the city minimum standards, is the city okay taking that over, understanding that there is a future kind of master plan to have the development there in the future. So the benefit to Northeastern Counseling is that they don't have to maintain it for eternity.
So if it's less than 18,
If it-
they would have to
the city-
maintain
The
it.
city minimum standard is 18 inch.
Is that what they put in the other one they just approved? Was that 18
Yours
inch?
has yeah, this one has 18 inch. I think the, one of the red lines on South was it smaller, so that was a red line in there, not, so I said 18.
So just so that it's at least the minimum city standard.
So that they'll maintain it afterwards.
So that, I don't think the property owner want more than one line.
So,
From a property owner standpoint, one line down this road makes sense at 18, and it's more than adequate. The next, as development occurs, if it's done according to the preliminary that you have in front of you, would come down from a little road that the existing proposed cemetery site is there, and another drain line would need to go down to drain that half of the property. That's not to be even worried about now, but that's the way the whole property won't be drained in this one line. But I'm interested in having it done right, not just a line for northeastern counseling running down through this property. It's gonna need to be a drain line that will accommodate the lots and the property on each side. And the reason my property needs a drain line is it's flat. And so the roadway will be going down and then goes up and then goes down, and it'll be, in those low spots would be the collection point for a drain. Does that make sense?
Our hope is too, is we'll put boxes in that the box will be in, the concrete box will be in, but they'll be sunk 2 feet so that, they can still, find field.
I understand the concept. The concern I have is that you say that you're upsizing it to accommodate for future drainage, but it doesn't.
No, we're upsizing it to put it so that it's
The minimum
the
city.
minimum city standard.
But, and to do that, it's gonna take theirs plus the little property. You know, it's another, 10 acres.
Okay.
That's what we're saying, if it goes in, if it's then deeded to the city or whatever, in the right of way, they have to be that minimum standard, and the city isn't interested in a smaller, so we're upsizing it so it goes to the minimum standard. In the long run, it might be cheaper for us to just do the line, but the right way to go.
And I'm assuming the engineers, with that, I mean, they're saying that it'll drain northeastern council on both sides of the road or just on the south side?
Yeah, so the plan would be to have a smaller line come across the road from the existing, where it's like right next to the flagpole, right? There's kind of sometimes you see water ponded there, they've got some decorative rocks and stuff, but it
Right.
doesn't drain super great. So the plan would be to come from there across the road into this system, so.
But that 10 acres, does that include that extra 10 acres that it could? Does
No.
that include
So
the stuff on the north side?
So the capacity of an 18, and again, we're telling you this just so that you know what that capacity is of an 18-inch line. The capacity of it would serve the existing northeastern counseling that's north of 800 South and the new old size, I don't remember how many acres that is, but old
2.
parcels they purchased, and 10.5 acres. Potentially of development again, obviously there's not development plan, but that's more of a, just so you know the full capacity of that pipeline and know that it.
100 years.
Yeah.
So
We'll probably never see it, but.
one question, I guess, that needs to be addressed is who's going to be responsible for north of
It's gotta be
East
us.
South and to the south
So that's
side?
gonna be us, right? I think that could be you.
Right, that's what I was wondering, if this was to just, the city's responsibility will be from basically your south facility to the village.
Yeah, but it's not. No, that's not. I don't expect it may not all drain at once. I mean, we have a pond there. And so if it comes out under 4-inch pipe, it drains slowly, that's fine with me as long as it's had something to drain.
So Drew, this is kind of off the subject, but if the 10 acres that you have for cemetery expansion was changed to commercial, then you're gonna have to have a drain for it. So what are you gonna do?
I wouldn't even waste time talking about it right now, to be honest with you. It'll have to be included in the future development of whoever buys this property, but we have no idea what is gonna take place with that.
So as far as this, I mean, what we're talking about tonight, I don't have any issues. But my concern is, I mean, like so many cities, you have potential to develop, and you put in smaller than what you need for that whole thing, so when it does get developed, you have to go in and take that whole thing out, build it up bigger where it should have been to start out with. But as far as, I mean, tonight,
That down to the south end, I mean, in my mind, the curb would drain it, I mean, it's close enough to the gulch.
but
I mean, there's no requirement, yeah.
I mean, it's good for me, and everything's to city code and what we need.
Curb's gonna have to be built on grade, you know, so that's a grade.
You see any amendments that need to be made, or?
I think we've covered pretty much everything that we have. The only thing with the easement discussion, we'll have to have that prepared so we know exactly where that is and identify. And I think we can approve that even potentially at the council level. See what-
In my mind, I think you're looking for the approval for an 18-inch line running to the gulch, but this is going to require engineering before it can be installed. So, and that will require some type of final decision.
I assume Jeff or Jones and the Mill will be doing your design.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so with that, I guess we do need some engineering drawings. But this is for the preliminary, I guess, if this is the direction that you guys want to go and you approve, then we can move forward.
I think I move that we approve it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any questions?
So process wise, I have to come back here first before I go to city council then for a final?
So we
You
don't
don't
need.
wanna do that?
I would say they need to proceed with construction drawings. The approval for the easement.
Right, we can take that to city council, but we will need a design to take. If you guys, whoever your engineer is that's doing it.
Before construction.
There is a design that has been made.
Okay.
It is in the paper that I just,
was
been to
already
this
submitted,
council, or this planning and zoning on 2 or 3 different occasions. It was designed with a 12-inch line. We found out the minimum, the city standard was 18, so we're willing to upgrade it to 18 to meet the city standard.
So
I would hope that we
that
could,
was already approved and has final approval, then do we need to come back?
the only change to that is that we're gonna go straight to the gulch instead of make a right-hand turn.
I would say take your plan and just have it upset to the 18, your engineer, whoever did your engineering on that, submit it.
Could we get a motion that we can move forward with Jones DeMille's review and approval?
At city council.
I don't
Just approval.
I don't think the design you have shows
I don't
boxes
think
in
we
room.
It doesn't, it does not, you're right.
Construction drawings.
So we haven't seen it. We haven't.
There is you're right, there is a profile, a design profile on what's been submitted, but it doesn't have box sizing, it doesn't have inward elevations, it doesn't have. It's not a full engineer design
So in
or
order,
an engineer stamp, so
It does have an engineer stamp,
does it have an engineer and is it the surveyor, does it have both?
Well,
has both.
It might,
But that needs to be submitted for approval.
so if you guys will work on that and get with us on that. once that's-
I think that I would assume that could be considered part of your submittal for plan review. But then you'll get your building permit off of, right?
Okay.
I'm just thinking if we could get this moved to the city council, if it's gonna be one day ahead of the planning and zoning, so that it stays a month, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to, yeah, if we can get the construction or the engineering done on this, we can submit it to our first Tuesday of October. We meet the Wednesday. That gives us 1 month. Your site plan for your building, will it be approved that day as well? And then we can get moving. So as far as construction goes, you gotta take your building back to this body anyway, regardless, in a month. So in the meantime, if we get everything we need to, we do our review with engineers here
You
as well.
could, so you could take this drainage thing all to the city council on the next meeting.
So I have one other question, Drew. So before they begin construction, I remember this northeast council, before they proceed with anything, have to post a bond at 115%.
And that was agreed upon when we.
It was pretty, we're starting.
You're aware of that.
15% of what?
Of the construction cost.
That's part of the final,
So the
Of
bond,
what? Of the
the
original
original,
improvements.
the original plan, right? It's correct.
so
So
with
it's
this,
not 150% of your full building project, but
It's the road,
of the road and the new shore.
the subdivision, basically creating the subdivision that they're gonna do.
And that was agreed upon, one of the stipulations to.
Give her lots of money, I'm not too worried about.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Do we have a motion to approve that?
Yeah.
Remind me.
Motion, Kyle, motion. John, second. Let's see, did everybody have a chance to go through Title 17?
Actually, I looked at my notes and I thought we were doing 15 and 16 and then 17 next month.
We were shooting for 17 for sure.
I reviewed 17 too.
Did everybody get a chance to review that red line of 17?
Can you pull it up?
That's these three papers that,
She didn't include that in our packet.
Sunshine said since she wasn't gonna be here, there wouldn't be any training.
Well, this isn't training. This isn't training. This is reviewing title. So what we've done is we've hired a consultant firm to help us reorganize and update our titles, and the land use titles and building titles would be 15, 16, 17. 17 is mainly for this body. It's planning and zoning. So that is the title that we want to bring back to you with the revisions, and we have provided a red line in your emails that we sent out for your review. We need to take it through this body for any questions or approval before we take it to city council. So we're gonna dissect it. It's not gonna be a quick turnaround. We want you to dive into it with any questions or updates or changes. So if we need to table this until the next meeting, and then in the meantime, review 17 in depth and come back with any questions or if you want to approve as written with the amendments. Basically, the red lines are the ones that we're looking at changing. The other ones aren't up for change. It's just the red line in the packet that we sent out, or the email.
You guys wanna go through it tonight, or should we table it and study it on our own for another month?
do you have I have the red line, I have these 3 pages.
And I can't pull it up. It's not in the packet. If I go out of the screen, I lose our video feed. We're pinch hitting without sunshine. I apologize. My recommendation is, if a few of you haven't had a chance to look at it, let's take a month and review that, and then we can go back to the 15 and 16.
We're not in a rush on this.
Not a huge rush. No, it's city council is reviewing all the other titles. So we've got the short titles, so we've got some time.
You need a motion to do that?
I move that we table it.
All in favor?
Did we get a second on that?
Yeah.
John.
Okay.
Very good. It's like that.
Got a report for us?
I don't have much to report other than our
updates on our titles, just take the time and review those. It's, like I said, we've been working on it as staff for about a year and a half, going through department by department. And you just take the time and for this body, for the land use titles and give it a thorough shot. We want your input before we take it to city council. So. Anything for future discussion, I guess, is where we're at. Anything you guys want to see for our next meeting?
I wanna see Title 17.
Perfect. We'll send it to you.
I move we adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.